Okay.
Why? Why are you laughing? Why, why are you laughing?
So I wanted to make sure that I'm looking a little bit lower, right? Now I'm not doing this, right? Because I think it's me, right? Not you're saying because it's not the camera. So I'm like, looking a little lower, right?
Uh huh.
So when I'm looking here, so when I'm looking here, does it look like my head's a little lower?
She stuck something to the camera to make sure that she's always looking down at it. This is what she stuck on the camera.
I approve. I approve. I approve. I approve.
I am absolutely putting that in the video, that image, because that is funny as hell. You are so weird. You are so weird.
That was the only recent picture of you I was able to find where I could actually talk to you.
That's what you want to talk to me
I'm not sure
live
if I
in
can
the
take this.
shower.
I'm not sure if I can take this project seriously. Every time I'm gonna go into this moment, I'm like wanting to talk about something deep and dark and meaningful. That's the face I'm gonna look.
You know what? I can tell already you're not going to take this seriously.
It's not gonna be no cool. And all I can see from this distance is your open mouth.
Why are you like this? Why can't you just do things that are normal?
What is normal? You're asking the wrong person. You're asking the wrong person what normal is. In every ways strange.
Oh my god.
Okay. Hi everyone and welcome back to Babylon 5 Media Psyche project. Um, I was really surprised and amazed at how many people actually viewed my last um recording, and it was really quite amazing and surprising. So, thank you for that. I really didn't think that. Honestly, going into this project, I kind of only just do this mostly for myself. Um, Actually, I primarily do it for myself because that was what the project was for. And I really had no expectations as to like, any other expectations other than to like hopefully gain what I can gain so I could continue to improve and learn about myself through the medium of like B5, the sci-fi like that it's not even the genre that I even like watch. So it's supposed to be this very brand new novel experience for me to go on this journey with um all the characters. So thank you so much for showing interest and sending all those really wonderful messages. Uh, it was very touching, and I'm glad that in so many ways that I was relatable and as well as in some ways inspiring. So I'm very much, glad about that. Also, in turn, some of the stories that some people have shared has also been truly inspiring for me. And um, that's been very nice. So thank you. Thank you for that. We are on season 2, believe it or not.
Yay, season 2.
I know. I think this is like more like this is like Elaine's dream come true more than anything else.
It really is, I'm not gonna lie.
For her to take me on this journey. If you're passionate about something, you really want to take someone along for the ride, right? Especially so then you could share these like wonderful magical moments together and be able to talk about it. So I'm glad Elaine chose me to be that person to do this with. And I think it was probably exciting for her too, because, here I am. I started off with like as being a sci-fi noob, right? I can't really say that I still really understand sci-fi. Um, or if sci-fi is my thing, but I can say that this piece of media has been intriguing, interesting, enlightening. So all of the above. So I thank you, Elaine, for continuing to persevere through all my like resistances and my illness, my lack of ambition. And finally, like here we are, almost 2 decades later. So thanks for being so persistent.
It's not a problem. You are welcome, but thank you for actually being like one of the first people to be able to properly demonstrate publicly this modality that I created in my youth. It's something that I always knew had value, and it was something that I always sort of did with people on the side, but never actually was able to, document it being used and see it being used in any kind of way. So that's really amazing. And it's great that other people find value in it. And also you have found value in it. So that's really what's so amazing about the project too, that, you know, it seems like such a simple thing to me using media for this purpose, but um it does have real world value, and it's great to be able to see it in use.
I have to say that, because I've come to understand like how this project is supposed to unfold or how this medium is supposed to unfold, I've actually have used it in my own practice with a couple of people where I felt like they were so stuck and I couldn't push them forward, even with like cognitive behavioral therapy. I really think that a lot of people talk about cognitive behavioral therapy, like, CBT, as like this, grand medium for change and improvement. And while that's true, I also think that it's also sometimes a little sterile and limiting. Because it's not always about just having cognitive distortions and these faulty ways of thinking, but it's more than that, right? Where yeah, we do think about things in ways that are irrational, and we do tend to gravitate towards making decisions based on those like not so great thoughts. But there's more. There's more to that. I think that examining one's standards and values and the foundations in which you build yourself on is so important for you to then be able to like make decisions in your life. Um, but I think it needs more than just being able to say like, hey, well, that's, faulty thinking, that's irrational. But be able to build an identity based on something that you feel like resonates with you. And I don't think that like we have so much of that anymore. We don't really have role models that, teach us like what's good and bad. I mean, it's not as black and white though. I know I understand that. But in terms of like how you want to even build your identity, it's like, people are all not all, but many people feel a little lost. So anyway, I have, used media. I've incorporated into like my practice with a couple of clients who actually watch, anime. And it turned out to be that thing, that profound experience or that shift that actually helped move the needle a little. And we've explored it, we talked about it, we talked about the barriers from this lens, and they were able to push forward from the point that they felt so stuck that I couldn't do with just CBT alone. So that was really actually quite amazing to see unfold.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's really, really cool.
it was really quite amazing. Just yesterday. Just yesterday. Okay, I have to laugh. I was, because this person also has watched anime before, and I was asking this person, what anime they watched, and they said that like Naruto was one of the main ones that they watched. I said that's perfect because the other ones that they mentioned, I wasn't too familiar with. But anyway, this was perfect. I mean, within it, I was trying to use a metaphor, but here I am, and I'm talking to him, and I was like, yeah, like remember the time when he tried to like make his, first clone, and he really had a hard time. He was over there struggling, saying kage bunshin no jutsu, right? And here I, and then he starts cracking up because I actually know the Japanese phrase. He started cracking up, but like, how great is it to share this moment, right? In this like very serious place of feeling like all these negative emotions, and here I am being able to like use this as a metaphor, but also like incorporate an experience he once had. I mean, we both ended up cracking up. I mean, I can't even remember. I still remember that line though. I watched Naruto like when it first came out, like 20 billion years ago.
Can you move the mic a little closer to you?
Okay, it's on a little bit of an angle here.
Oh, that's much, much better. That's much better.
Yeah, well, it's gonna have to sit on my leg then.
No, no, no. What? No. Put it
Okay, is that
as
better?
close as you can. Let me see. Say something.
Is that a little better?
A little. Yeah, I'm gonna have to bump the audio quite a lot then.
Oh, well, I could just put it right here. Can you see the mic?
I don't want you to hold the mic there. That's distracting. Put it back to where it was. But yeah, we definitely need, if you're gonna use that, it needs to be closer, like a lot closer. It picks you up fine, but I'm gonna have to bump the audio up like several decibels.
Okay, well, what about here?
Where is that thing? Is it between your legs?
Yes.
You can't hold it there, Jenny. That's gonna distract you.
I mean, but is it working?
Oh, it's working perfectly, but I don't want
Leave
you
it.
to.
Leave it. It's fine. All right. So where were we? Hold on a second. I need to dab my nose.
Dab, dab. You were talking about using media therapy in your practice, and that makes me extremely happy to hear. It's so great that you
Yeah.
were able to find success with that, and you're able to help your clients break through certain things. It's really, really great. And again, it's something that I always knew could be useful. Just, it's great to see it in practice. So
You
thank you
know,
very much for that.
when people come to me and they tell me that they're gamers, right? For example, I use a lot of gaming analogy too, especially with elements of like perfectionism and um, low self-esteem, fear of trying new things. And I always talk about like what XP actually means, right? Your experience points. And then, as you collect what happens in games, as you collect experience points, you level up your skill trees, your skill tree. And then on top of that, what else happens? Well, you end up getting better gear. But it's all like a progressive process. And I think people often either forget that, or when it comes to themselves, they're a little bit, they're actually very hard on themselves, right?
Hmm.
I was having a conversation with someone and they're like, "Well, I want to start learning something, but I'm too ashamed to go and learn it because I don't know it." I said, "What do you mean?" And this person said, "Well, I should, when I show up, I should at least have X amount of knowledge." I said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Okay, so if you show up to a beginner class and you show up having like, adequate knowledge in that, I mean, what would the teacher ask you?" And this person says, "Why are you here?" I said, "Yeah." Anyway, I'm laughing because this person and I were both laughing because it was just the simplicity of it, right? When you break it down and deconstruct it, it's so simple, but the experiences that you've had, the trauma, everything that like shaped you to be where you are, like creates these like huge, like barriers and these huge walls for you. And like, it is so difficult to overcome.
Mhm.
And I don't take that lightly. I definitely understand what that barrier feels like. It feels like this huge mountain that you feel you won't be able to climb. So I get it. But I guess, what I really love about my work is that I can laugh with with my clients, and that's been like it's such a beautiful thing when that unfolds and you both like kind of are able to see the humor at the same exact time for the same reason. It's so powerful in those moments. Okay, so here's the biggest question, right?
Mhm.
Your biggest question that you had me thinking about for the past week.
The thing about media therapy is, yes, you can do it by yourself. Like, yes, you can watch something and you can challenge yourself if you're very self-aware, right? And
Mm-hmm.
you are aware of what you're experiencing when you watch media, you can do kind of your own form of media therapy. But it is most helpful with a therapist or with a guide who is watching you watch the media, right? Because when you have certain reactions, and that includes micro expressions and micro reactions to things, it's very telling, right? You're the way that you make a face when a character says something or roll your eyes or sigh or whatever. Those things are very telling, not just the huge explosive things. So I I watch you watch media a lot, like over the years. And I can see areas where you're confused. I can see that little, crease between your eyes when something happens. Or because you're very self-aware, you'll be like, stop, stop. I didn't catch that. I didn't understand that pause.
Mm-hmm.
Like you'll be able to say that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the triggers that you have, I always want to talk to you about. I always want to stop right then and there and say, what is up with that reaction? Right? Similar to my experience when I was younger. Why are you feeling this? Why are you expressing this right now? Let's talk about it. Right? But I don't like to do that to you when we're watching something. So I make a note, and I did make a note of a significant moment. Your reaction was very strong. You had
It
2 very
was.
strong reactions. One was kind of based on confusion, and I do understand why you were confused at the beginning, but it also stemmed from sort of a similar thing. You were so offended at what this character said because you thought he was supposed to be Sinclair. You were like, "What the hell? Why is he talking like that?" Like, you were like, your thing with Sinclair is very strong, but there's a reason for that. So I was very intrigued by how you
Mm-hmm.
felt about Sheridan, and I wanted to definitely get into this with you because it's intriguing to me and it says a lot about you. You hate Sheridan.
No, actually.
Okay.
Actually, no. All right. So when we were first watching this time, when what I watched the first two episodes with Elaine in person together.
Mm.
I came over and we watched it together. So she was able to see a little bit more of my reactions there. So here's what happened. First of all, Sheridan comes onto the screen and then he's talking to
General Haig.
yes. And in that, he tells Sheridan that he's going to be relocated to like Babylon 5. That was the premise, right?
Mhm.
And and General Haig tells him basically to make contact with Minbari. And Sheridan's response to that was,
The last time I made personal contact with a Minbari warship, I sent it straight to hell.
in that moment, two things went. two things happened. One, I felt like they sullied, Commander Sinclair because I thought he was coming in as Commander Sinclair.
Right.
So there was that confusion. It was immediately rectified. Now I understand the truth. But two, then I felt like I was certainly reacting to the way he delivered that thought. I sent it straight to hell. And to me, it sounded pretty cocky. Well, so I had to really think long and hard about this because initially the way Elaine understood it was that I like men who are a little bit softer, a little, not as cocky, not as arrogant, people who show a little more humility, right?
Mm-hmm.
I tend to gravitate towards, that as an attractive feature, not only for men, but, just anyone. I dug a little deeper into my mind to figure out what this is.
Okay.
This actually is a defense mechanism. So what I did in this moment, in psychoanalytic theory, we would call this projection. It's called a defense mechanism. And basically, defense mechanisms are unconscious psychological processes that people use in order to defend the ego to reduce their anxieties. It's a coping skill, basically. It could be adaptive or not adaptive. There are a couple of defense mechanisms that are a little bit more healthy than others. But it comes from this feeling of, something that's unacceptable to you, right? So then you have like these impulses. Okay. So projection is a specific defense mechanism that I recognize in myself here. And projection is basically the person unconsciously attributing your own unwanted feelings, traits, and impulses onto someone else. So basically, here I am, I'm looking at Sheridan, and he talks this way, right? And immediately, what the problem is that, like, I've done that. And that's a quality of mine that I don't like. I don't like to come off that way. One of my biggest things is wanting to be able to show up with humility. And I'll tell you why. It goes a little bit deeper, so then I continue to analyze and examine this thought.
Stop.
Yes?
The mic is killing me. Like you're moving it around, and it's really distracting. So I said it's not going to work. Just put it back where it was.
Okay.
'Cause
I'll just have to use the mic arm next time.
Yeah. It's definitely too far from you. It's a good mic, but it's too far. Okay, go.
So I took it deeper to continue to examine where this is going. You got to go down this rabbit hole in order to really figure out like where all these things are coming from. So I continued. So cliche to say it's childhood. It is. It's childhood. In my family dynamics, I mean, every time I think about my family, it's the one word that always comes to mind is just chaos. It's chaos. It's turbulent. It's chaos. The concepts of like, healthy nurturing, healthy boundaries, respect. It's just not really, they were all warped. It's not, what you would consider normal. Whatever normal means, right? So what it is this. In our family, if anytime anything went wrong, which was often, there was always finger pointing. So then someone takes the blame. It was always about blame. We have in this family dynamic the alcoholic father, the neurotic mother, domestic violence, non-English speaking parents, the parentified child, my younger brother, who is also a victim to all of this. So anytime anything went wrong, we were blamed, and often unfairly. And so what do you do when you're often unfairly blamed, right? In addition to that, the good things that you do are not really recognized. Like, that's just a fleeting moment that doesn't last long enough to even like say that you even had the spotlight on you to feel like you did any good, or you felt like you really actually accomplished anything, because the negative disturbances were just so heavy and often and frequent that it just pales everything else that could possibly be on the other side. So in that, what I've adopted, and what my brother actually also does too, is justify. We've constantly justified all the things that we felt were misunderstandings. We constantly justified all the things that we didn't do wrong. We constantly then ended up blaming other people as well, because certainly it wasn't our fault, but we were unfairly like um criminalized, right?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And in that, when that happens, right? When that happened, my voice became louder and louder and louder. Now, mind you, this only happened in my family dynamics, because outside of that, I was quiet. I never spoke. I hardly ever spoke. Time went on, young adulthood, and I recognized that, like, whenever I heard other people do those same things, justify themselves, and I heard it back, I didn't like it. But I started disliking that same quality in myself, because it just began to feel so petty. But on top of that, it also felt like a losing battle. And I say that because I don't really think that people truly, really, not many people really know how to understand another. It takes a lot to be able to have understanding. It takes willingness to be able to hear someone. It takes ability, it takes empathy, it takes compassion. And that is really a lot of problem. The Those are all the challenges that many people have right now too, that they feel like their loved ones, their companions, their partners, they don't really understand one another. So anyway, in that split moment when I heard Sheridan deliver that line in this way, I just had this like reaction that felt so negative to me. Also, it was colored by the fact that, I like I was already missing Commander Sinclair. But that's what that was.
So, the reason why you found his cocky, sort of arrogant, attitude so problematic, you're saying, why it was sort of a trigger for you, this projection that you made.
Mm-hmm.
You don't like that quality in yourself
Correct.
because as you were growing up, you were cocky, you were arrogant,
No, it's not the cocky or the arrogance, right? It's the fact that like, so it sounds cocky, but underneath that, right? What is it? It's the
a justification.
justification, right?
Mhm.
It's, for me personally, it's about, having a voice that really no one even heard.
Mhm.
And then eventually, to me, that turned into like, well, that's really petty. And I don't like that pettiness. And to me, like the person that I am, I have continued to work on shaping myself to be is someone who has humility, but not for the wrong reasons either. It's about like having this accurate representation of yourself, where where your strengths lie, where your weaknesses lie, But you're not like, let's say, necessarily showcasing them, but you're also not downplaying yourself either. And that's, to me, a part of a character trait that I have for myself as my ideal self. Someone who does have humility, because that's not the part of me that's the part of me, the one that had to justify and the one that had to fight to have a voice that no one even like heard, is not someone that I really like in myself, right? That trait. And what it is too is that if some people, if some people could see my gestures and they understand it, then they understand it. But I don't feel like I need to like say those things out loud and then prove to other people who I am. The ones that will see it, will see it. And the ones that don't, I don't know if they would ever be able to see, even if I told them.
So one of the things that you always said you really liked about Sinclair is that he didn't have to say much.
No.
He didn't have to explain himself a lot, right? He just kind of was, and his presence was enough. His attitude was really in his demeanor, not necessarily, and sort of in his actions, but he didn't have to boast or shout or get dramatic to get things done. Like, you liked that sort of controlled, calm, but confident part of his character. That was something that you greatly admired and said that you like wanted to adopt even for yourself.
He has a quiet
Whereas the
confidence.
opposite of that is somebody like Sinclair, who he's a lot of show.
Okay. In
I mean, Sheridan, he's a lot of show.
Yeah, I always rewatch the episodes a second time. During my second rewatch of him, there was nothing else, no other moment where I felt like I disliked Sheridan at all.
Hmm. Just
He
that opening
It
line.
was just that opening line, and even when I heard it the second time around, I had no reaction to that at all. It was very matter-of-factly as he was speaking to this other person.
Yeah.
It was very matter-of-factly, and it was, in fact, the intention behind him even saying that was really about his concern for how the Minbari would,
React to him.
react to him. That's the word, react to him.
Right. And that's interesting because it speaks to the whole idea of those triggers, right, that happen
Right.
initially that are just, you feel them like in your body, right? And then you watch the whole episode, you have a much better understanding of Sheridan. So when you see it again, you now see that same line and that same attitude from a completely different perspective because you understand that beneath that is kind of this fear, right? And this sense of responsibility that he has, as much as he's proud of. And the fact that you can tell that he has a little bit of shame. The people that defend horrible things that they did and say, I'm not going to apologize for what I did, those people have a lot of shame. When they voluntarily say lines like, I'm not going to apologize for giving us the only win we had in the war, no one asked him to apologize. So when people say things like that, I can tell that deep down, there's actually quite a bit of shame. And you can see that even in the way that he looks at his medal and stuff that he has. And he doesn't grab that medal out of his luggage and hang it on the wall immediately with pride. He's kind of looking at it and he's really thinking about the war and all that stuff, right? It's not so dissimilar to Sinclair. Sinclair had a lot of shame about the war, but for different reasons. So to me, Sheridan is someone who uses that ego and that, well, I blew it straight to hell and I'm not going to apologize because I gave us our only win. That is the same kind of shame, really, that Sinclair has. It's just reversed. It turns into a kind of pride and ego, but it's still shame. It's still deeply not something he's proud of, which is how he can get to the point at the end of the episode where he realizes that his presence is causing more problems than anything else. Right?
Right.
So once you have a better understanding of Sheridan, of anyone, you can hear the way they speak, the way they communicate
Mhm.
in a very different way. But you have to have that understanding first. Otherwise, it's knee jerk, it's trigger.
Well, I mean, two thoughts here, right? Once I was able to sort of clear away my own biases through my own lived experience and the way I was actually seeing the world, and this is where you would say, you had faulty thinking, right?
Mm-hmm.
Once that was like set aside, like it gave me much more clarity to then be able to see Sheridan with more clarity.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, and as you're talking about that, I'm thinking about how he pretty much handled the whole situation with the Trigata,
Mm-hmm.
and how he was able to read between the lines to be able to understand exactly what their intent was,
Mm-hmm.
which prevented them into ending up going into this what did he call it? This shootout war?
Another war, yeah.
Yeah, right. Because had they fired first, then now there was reason. That they
Mhm.
would have given them this unintended reason
Mhm.
to then cause friction between the Minbari and Earth again.
Mhm.
And that exactly is that thing that's so important, the understanding, the ability to be able to read between the lines and to be able to really understand the whole situation, but also the people behind it. And that's really what this all kind of comes down to. Okay, speaking of Sheridan, continuing to speak on Sheridan, you know how he gives that speech? Is it at the end of episode 1 or the end of episode 2? He goes to give his speech, right? The very
To the empty room.
the thing that he said that he always needed to do.
Mhm.
What was the purpose again?
It's his good luck speech.
Right.
Anytime he takes a new post, he always delivers the same speech.
Right. He delivers the same speech. And he delivered it in an empty room. In a room where no one was going to even hear this speech. That's not an arrogant man, right?
Right.
That is not an arrogant man. That is a man who has his own convictions, his own beliefs, and his own confidence. And that he didn't need witness to his identity. And that's exactly the quality, right, that I strive to be and that I continue to work on every single day of my life. That I don't need someone to necessarily praise me for every single good thing that I do or ask for validation or recognition. I think I've certainly grown tired of it. Begging for that moment of spotlight, especially in my childhood, right?
Mhm.
But it's okay because I know who I am. I've grown more confident in who I am. It made me think of a professor back in grad school. She gave all of her students a little pouch and a note. And I think it was a year that we were graduating as well. I think she was our supervisor for our field placement. And one of the traits that she wrote down that I had was that I had this quiet confidence. I can't say that that was true back at that time. I was more shy than anything else. But it stuck with me, that she saw me that way. Maybe it was something that I needed to nurture and grow into. So something else I want to talk about. So Sheridan, in his speech, his two lines were very poignant. He says, "The dogmas of the quiet past are inadequate to the stormy present. The occasion is piled high with difficulty, and we must rise to the occasion.
It was an early Earth president, Abraham Lincoln, who best described our situation. The dogmas of the quiet past are inadequate to the stormy present. The occasion is piled high with difficulty, and we must rise to the occasion. We cannot escape history. We will be remembered in spite of ourselves. The fiery trial through which we pass will light us down in honor or dishonor to the last generation. We shall nobly save or meanly lose our last best hope of Earth.
How this resonates with me. You and I have had conversations about how certain beliefs, especially ones that are rooted in culture, at some point it's just you have to rethink it because it's not working. And it's a conversation I often find myself at. So during those times, we've had many conversations about those dilemmas and conflicts that I experience between culture and my Korean culture and the process of assimilation into this culture, and the conflicts that arose with my parents, and like how just they just can't. Sometimes it just doesn't never really blended very well. And now I find myself having, not now, but I find myself also having these same conversations with many of my clients who seek me out because I'm not, I'm not your, Caucasian female, right? I'm a minority. Although I don't even know how to phrase myself anymore. I'm not a minority anymore.
You're a member of the global majority.
Yeah. And I'm still, it's really hard to come out of saying, I'm a minority, right? Because I'm not anymore. Statistics say that we're not minorities anymore.
Right. That's why it's global majority.
So I have clients who seek me out because we are part of the global majority. It comes to question, especially, my clients who are with Asian backgrounds. We often end up talking about culture a lot and how they continue to feel really conflicted and stuck in the value systems and the unspoken rules and obedience that they continue to feel still to this day. I think it's very important to rethink your own dogmas of the quiet past.
Mm.
And the key word, I think, is almost like the quiet past. I mean, I could also hear that as the value sets, the standards that were kind of involuntarily forced on us. And I know that it's really hard to break free from that. And maybe not, it's not necessarily trying to break free from it per se, but being able to understand where it comes from and figuring out what would work for you, but simply that your own dogmas need to be rethought.
I like rethunk. So by the end of episode 1, after everything is resolved and the next war with the Minbari has been stopped, what were your feelings about Sheridan at that time? Overall, that episode, how did you feel about it?
What did you say? I like emo broody men, right?
You do like emo broody men.
Well, I feel like he is also emo and broody in his own way.
He absolutely is. He 100% is emo and broody.
Yes. I mean, he's grieving the loss of his, wife.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, he says in one moment he says, Sinclair, they trust him. But me, if Sinclair had been here instead, maybe they might not have attacked, right?
Mm.
So, he has his own insecurities. He also has his own trauma, his own adversities. So, bring on the emo and broody men. Once that initial trigger was resolved, I very much enjoyed watching him play this role. When Sheridan came onto B5 and, no one was there to greet him and Ivanova was late, the way she ran up to greet him, right? Oh my God, it was so adorable.
Yes, yes. Aksuta sa Akka.
Welcome aboard, sir. I'm authorized to surrender command of Babylon 5 to you at this time.
Thank you, Lieutenant Commander. I accept command.
She grabbed that woman who's standing there.
She had a little bit of a hop there. It was adorable. It was very adorable.
And you get a very quick impression of him right at that moment. Like he could have stepped off there and been like, "Why do I have no greeting?" You know what I mean? Like
Right.
he rolled with that and just, you immediately get a sense of who he is.
Well, the way he was looking at Delenn.
He did have that look when she walked in, didn't he?
He was enamored.
He really was. I did not remember that. I haven't seen.
Very much enamored.
He immediately was like, "Hey," I don't know if he knew what she looked like before. I assume he didn't. He wouldn't have known that she didn't always look like that.
Yeah, but he would also, I would imagine he would also think that all the Minbaris, had the Minbari heads.
Right, but he didn't seem surprised. He was more like, "Hey."
Well, see, I'm not really sure. See, I think he may be reacting on two fronts here. One is like, wow, she doesn't look like all the Minbari out there. And two, she's beautiful, right?
Ugh.
So it may have been like, a double whammy.
I was more waiting for your reaction.
I know, my response, right? Wow.
No, all eyes were on you sitting in that chair. I'm like, well, when she takes off that hood, I'm gonna stare at
Corey out there too.
I think everybody was watching. Corey was standing in her doorway, and you were just like, wow. Not that I expected you to leap out of your chair or something, but like, it's so you. It's so you to have that response. Wow.
Wow. I mean, I was definitely taken aback. She was beautiful.
Mm.
And then my very second thought was, she doesn't have to wear that makeup anymore. Like, tons of it. And her ears are going to be in the right place.
The fact that you have managed to never see a picture of Delenn human, like because you don't look at stuff online, you don't look stuff up. I mean, that is like that's like trying to find someone who's never seen the end of Psycho or something like that. Like it's such a well-known thing, but I love that about you, that you genuinely are coming at things completely with no knowledge, and your reactions are genuine.
I actually don't even like to watch trailers.
Mm-hmm.
So like Demon Slayer came out at the movie theater again during my birthday weekend, and I was so ecstatic. But I never watched the trailer. I don't want to do that to myself.
No, I don't think anyone should ever watch trailers
No.
ever in their life.
You know, you told me about 10 Dance. I saw a picture of it and I wanted to watch it. All right, listen, we need to talk about Londo here.
Londo? Oh, yes.
We need to
Were-
talk about
That was
Londo.
another. You were very, very. I'm gonna just call it anger. Like every single time he said something, you were like, "What is he doing?" Like you were really, genuinely upset about everything that he was doing. Like you have a real deep, serious, emotional reaction.
I'm sure it's a reflection of all those decisions I made in my life as well that I can look back and be like, what was I thinking?
Her? Yeah, I think there's a little bit of that in there.
Of course.
You've always related strongly to Londo, even from the very first time you saw his character.
Yeah.
You've liked him a great deal. And when he started turning down this road, not, maliciously or anything like that, but like you've felt deeply for everything that he's been doing and you feel bad for him. Like you genuinely are very upset about the direction that this is going.
Yeah, now the feeling bad for him has shifted to not feeling so bad for him.
Why?
Okay, let me clarify. I still do feel bad for him.
He's being very flippant. And I think that's something that you're reacting to.
Yeah.
Him saying that stuff, he's being very flippant. It's almost
Yes.
like he doesn't take it as seriously as he should. He's being very flippant with Morden.
But he's also calculated at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I mean, he goes to him and he's like,
The destruction of the non base in Quadrant 37 is drawing quite a lot of attention.
Yes, that was the intent.
And you are absolutely certain that it cannot be traced back to me.
Oh, beyond a shadow of a doubt.
we can call that a dopamine hit. We could call that probably even a moment of feeling like some level of like glory and feeling like he avenged his people from the Narns. Because after all, how did he describe himself? Basically a tourist attraction, right? A clown.
Mm-hmm.
And that I can understand. But after that last episode in the season finale where he had that look of shock when Quadrant 37 was taken out, he seemed, I interpreted as if he actually did seem pained that he did this.
Mm-hmm.
And that he was really thinking about his own moral standing here. But then, what are we seeing? What are we seeing in this scene? What are we witnessing? He flippantly then asks,
What happens if I'm asked for another of these little demonstrations?
Then we'll provide it. Simply choose your target. A colony. An outpost.
Why don't you eliminate the entire non-homeworld while you're at it?
One thing at a time, Ambassador. One thing at a time.
But I mean, it was so disturbing that even Morton was like, well, hold on a second here.
One thing at a time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a moment where I'm like, you don't even know this person. And you're asking of this.
But when Morden said one thing at a time, what was Londo's response?
Oh, he felt a little concerned. It looked like it was a little concerned. He looked a little hesitant.
Right, because he was sort of kidding. But then he realized, I think every bit of what he does is sort of testing these waters with Morden.
Yes, he is. And yes, he Yes, it was a very flippant statement. And yes, I know that he was kidding, but the fact that you can utter that after they the fact that you can even utter that even as a joke after all of Quadrant 37 was like easily destroyed, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would be so careful with my words after that. And right now, like, he has no idea that he's, basically dancing with the devil.
Right.
And yet he tests these waters. He's casual enough to be flippant and joking. But how can you do that? I mean, but I know that that's also Londo's character, right? He doesn't really take things so seriously.
Mm-hmm.
But I would have thought that Quadrant 37 would have been enough for him to be like, this was a real, this was a real impact on my moral standing here, right? I thought it would have been enough. So that's why I was angry. I was angry at Londo. And I'm sure it's also a reflection of like, all those times I've made mistakes and made poor decisions, whether or not they were flippant or impulsive or coming from a place of just choking, but I still carried it through. And to see Londo play this out, but his stakes are much higher than what I did, okay? Let me tell you, I didn't take out people.
And when he betrayed Jakar, that one hit you also.
That hurt my soul. And it even hurt even more because Jakar's out there. Jakar was out there investigating. And he comes back and he's like,
Ambassador Jakar, back from your little expedition, I see. Did you find anything interesting?
Yes, I'm going to call for a meeting of the council to discuss it.
Oh?
Molari, the grievances between my people and yours will never be resolved except with Centauri blood. Accept that as a given.
Well, it's good to know we're appreciated.
But there may be some dangers that threaten both our peoples. Not to mention the Minbari, the Earthers, the League, and everyone else around here. Except possibly the Vorlons. I don't know what could threaten them, really. Very soon, Ambassador, I may require your help in the interests of all our governments.
Help? My help? Well, this is astonishing.
Mm-hmm.
and despite Jakar even being so authentic in his concern for even the Centauri, Londo did what he did.
Mm-hmm.
And that action was so grave. And in that moment, I had so much anger towards Londo. The naivete, his own moral compass, his pride, his whims. Where's Veer? Where is Veer?
Yeah.
I want to know where Veer is because Londo is running amok here.
So where does that come from for you also? That anchor.
Where does that anger come from?
I mean, especially that particular thing bothered you. And as you stated, Jakar comes at him and gives him this authentic, open, like, the past shit doesn't matter. Like, I need your help, right? He comes at him without any anger whatsoever. On top of the fact that he already knew that it wasn't the Centauri. He was wise enough and controlled enough to be like, this isn't them. This is something else, right? He doesn't come at him with any negativity, anger. He comes at him with kind of an open sense of, look, Shit is bad between us, whatever. That's fine. That has nothing to do with us, right? And still, right? That was the thing I think that really got to you.
The immediate thing that comes to me is Londo is at this crossroads between choosing what's right and choosing destruction.
Hmm.
And I think it's two different elements for me. One, where there have been times where there wasn't a Jakar in my life. And what that would have been for me had I had that opportunity in front of me. So on one hand, it's Londo having something that he could really build upon that could be very beautiful and the beginning of the repair into possible friendship.
Mhm.
And that he's missing this opportunity. An opportunity that I didn't have during times that I wish I did. It never existed. And there are times where those opportunities did come. And I did choose the path of destruction. And I do also know what that other side looks like.
Hmm.
So it comes from two places, this anger. And that he's making wrong decisions. And it is, again, his destruction is far bigger than mine. I did not take out Quadrant 37 and then want to do some more. That's where that comes from.
Mm-hmm. I know you know that. I just want you to articulate it.
Yeah. Londo. Veer, where are you, Veer? Why? Where is Veer?
Yeah, he wasn't in that episode at all, I don't think.
He needs to, Londo needs help. Speaking of, helpers, Lanier is amazing.
Yes.
He is absolutely amazing. This guy is, the epitome of dedication and commitment. Kalaine comes in, about to kill Delenn in her cocoon. And what did he do? He was ready. Lanier was ready for battle in his, mantis pose, whatever that is.
He was. He was ready.
He was ready. And it's like
either kill me or go away because I got shit to do.
If you are going to kill me, then do so. Otherwise, I have considerable work to do.
And that's bravery, because they actually talked about the difference between bravery and desperation. That Grey Council dude talked about, him and Delenn, they were talking about bravery and desperation. Delenn's like, well, all these humans, they were fighting, even though they can't win this war, they're very brave. And the other Grey Council dude is like, or is it desperation?
Mm-hmm.
And Delenn simply says, or it could be both.
Mm-hmm.
And so I defined those words because I thought it was actually very important to understand what the difference between bravery and desperation is. Bravery is calculated action taken despite fear, driven by purpose and conviction. It's proactive and disciplined, and it's rooted in values and inner strength.
Mm.
Desperation, on the other hand, is reckless action, driven by panicked need to escape a hopeless situation. It's reactive and often leads to impulsive, high-risk behavior that ignores consequences.
Ah, yeah.
And it
Good.
comes from a place of helplessness.
Yes.
You and I often talked about intent and how intent is so important.
Yes.
You can make the same decisions, but the intent is what guides your outcome,
Sure.
but it also guides your identity.
Mm.
Lanier could have decided to fight Kalain from a place of desperation. But how would that have looked like? It would show that he wouldn't have had confidence in himself, or that he had conviction in what he believed and valued, which is basically Delenn, right?
Right.
But instead, he shows up with bravery, which is calculated, because his conviction is protecting Delenn, because Delenn is so important to him.
Mm-hmm.
And when you pull it apart that way, the bravery that Lanier shows is just so commendable. But if he came at that with desperation, I'm not sure it would have given a very different feel. But because he comes at this with, faces Kalain with bravery, he shows even more respect to Delenn.
True.
But yeah, Lanier is incredible. He is awesome. He even wiped off the chunky tears off the cocoon.
The cocoon mucus.
The cocoon
Mucus. Mucus.
the cocoon mucus.
The mucus.
Yeah.
Yeah. He tended to her. But you like all of the liaisons. You like Natoth. I don't know if you like the new Natoth as well as the old Natoth.
I have to adjust to the change, but the older Toth was like she was spunky. I loved her. I loved her. And then I just love the way, Jakar interacts with Nataf. And he always, this is the second time I noticed it. Not always. So this is the second time I noticed it, where he ends up saying Nataf's name at the end, like Nataf. Like he just really gives her presence and importance in this important discovery that he is beginning to have of himself, this coming into that he's experiencing. And then he shares this wisdom and knowledge, and he really really personally brings Natoth into his world by calling out her name.
Mm.
Yeah, he says he comes back, right? After he says to her, I'll see you when I'll see you. Finally comes back. He says, things have changed and they will never be the same. We are Narns. We have learned to cope with change and triumph in the face of adversity. We will overcome this as well. We have no other choice. Natoth. I think that's where he says Natoth. I didn't write her name down.
What do you think of this new Jakar? I was watching some of your very old first videos from the 2012s, and you did not like him. You immediately were put off by Jakar.
Well,
And then the second time around, you had a little bit of a better understanding of him. You understood where the anger was coming from. What do you think of him now?
Jakar and I live parallel lives.
Okay. Tell me more.
Yep. The anger, the pettiness, the injustice, the rage, to vengeance, to the very thing that drove us, to then the quiet introspections, examination, analysis, quiet moments spent alone, discovering and rediscovering, and being able to, come to this place for him to share these, articulate his thoughts and emotions so eloquently. I mean, I never thought that I would ever be in this position now. And we've had conversations about this too. The me that I was, 20 years ago. 20 years ago, I would never have envisioned this version of me now. The one that understands how to examine my own thoughts. The ones that could put into words what I was feeling. The one who can put pieces together, not only for myself, but also for other people. And to be able to give them words that they don't have. Because since I've examined myself so much, this intuition has evolved for me. This ability for intuition.
Mm-hmm.
I never thought I would have reached this place in my life. And I think about another path that I could have easily taken. Like, what if I, ended up staying in New Jersey and going to the School of Social Work? Because I got accepted to that program too. I'm 99.9% sure that I would never have realized this version of me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very happy that and grateful that I took this journey instead. I've been finding myself reflecting on that a lot. Because you always think about, the what ifs to see if you have any regrets. Places you could have made different decisions. That's the one decision I don't regret. I regret others. Okay. And speaking of Jakar, he definitely speaks of resilience.
Mm.
That is resilience in a nutshell. Exactly what he speaks of. It's also resilience and humility as he talks to the council and he's like, how did they get destroyed? How did those ships get destroyed? I didn't tell anyone except... And he doesn't finish the sentence. Of course, Sheridan's like, well, what are you trying to imply?
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't go there. Because one, it would have been petty. And two, at that point, what difference would it have been made? What difference would it make at that point? He's already determined that it's too late. That Londo has already taken his own path.
Mm-hmm.
And he couldn't recruit him as an ally. And I think he recognizes that that is a choice that Londo has made. Yeah. Yeah, Jakar, I see a lot of myself in him. And I think I did from the very beginning, which is probably I reacted the way I did. But as he continues to go on and the fact that he, he could speak so eloquently of his own thoughts and his feelings and what he's really coming into for himself is something I can relate to very much. I really love the way JMS writes these beautiful lines. It's just poetry.
Hmm.
That was a lot. Well, thank you everyone for watching. And I will be continuing season 2 with much love for Sheridan in my heart. So let's keep going.
And not another 15 years, you promise?
I'm trying. You know, I have to do better with self-care. That's really the key thing here. So I'm trying. I'll do my best to take care of myself so then this project can continue, because I think one of the things about Babylon 5 that also resonates is the behind the scenes, right? And how much self-care is important and how much good mental health is important. So, you know, it's all like, it's a really great show for me to like examine myself both through the characters and also through the backstory of like what happened between everyone in real life during the filming.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me think of it, you know, think of it all. So thank you everyone for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.